Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Hawashai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Hawashai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Hawashai, Kal Haloyim Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh, Bahashem Rakah Gudash. All right, first, we want to give double honor to our apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone who rule well over the flock of Israel. Shalom and salutation to you, Akim, out here pushing the words of truth and sincerity. Shalom to all the Lord's elect, Akim, Aqua, scattered Israelites, Israelite foreigners. Abaradazah, which means Lord willing. This video is edifying. It's myself, Rapam Mouth. I also got alongside me Priest Yeshaya, Priest Samak. And we're going to get into today's lesson. The time is short, last days survival tactics, right? And why do we need survival tactics? Because the information that, Yahweh Shai has opened up to us and revealed to us through his men, through the spirit of Yahweh Shai, right? He set up men to be able to go into prophecy instead of you having that old time pastor sweating at the pulpit, but having brought out one revelation or one evil time to come, haven't pronounced any type of judgment that Heavenly Father is about to bring down, and you still in that time of darkness. Rather, we the children of light. And so what do the children of light have that the children of darkness don't? They got vision. All right. And ultimately, the children of darkness is going to try to fight you teeth and nail, that what you see is not true, or they'll try to attempt to make you feel like you're blind with them. All right. No, there's nothing out there. No, nothing's coming, man. Y'all been saying that. That's usually a tactic that they aim for. It's the same old rehearsed thing. Where's the sign, promise of that coming? It's what the scoffers, mockers, and scorners will say, in which the scriptures give us insight on how to refute that claim with the scriptures. So everything revolves around understanding how to remain faithful and strong just for these times of trouble, but making sure that you have the proper scriptures to be able to defend your stance. All right. Right. This is a part of our cross, if you will, the burden that comes along with this, delivering this word, is that we have to be studied like a good swordsman, or like a good show to study to show thyself approved, like a good workman, who needs shame. All right, so you have to learn how to masterfully work within the scriptures to avoid these loophole, these stumbling blocks that men like to lay in front of you. So one of the main stumbling blocks a scoffer will have is that y'all said that already, or all right, why what you say hasn't happened yet? You want me to just sit around too? Well, come to find out is Heavenly Father commands and demands us to wait. All right, now Samak, let's get that, or nope, Yeshaya Babakashar, get that Proverbs 22.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, and starting at verse 3, it says, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hiding himself, but the simple pass on and are punished."
That's it. That's how you deal with things correctly. All right, when you find out that evil is coming, that creates a panic. Okay, because you actually realize that it's too late. And when your mind gets into that state of panic, there's no more resources that you have left to be able to comfort you in that time. All right. Now, the word is likened unto a comforter, but the word also has things that is going to cause the anxiety and the stress levels of other people to go up, because it's prophetic. So again, if the whole idea is that the farther you are away from that potential destruction, or the farther ahead you are, more aware you are of that evil, the more time you have to navigate, through that. You could build certain resources now to alleviate. You could create certain plans to help you along with that. You could take certain steps, whereas if the danger is right there in front of you, you have no time to develop a plan and resources. You have to succumb to whatever difficult situation is in your face right now, and you don't usually bounce back from that. So now what we understand is the scriptures really is giving us the heads up of the evil so that we can prepare now. It motivates us to make those certain changes, right? So that we can have we can deal with this battle when it comes more efficiently and effectively. So let's read that again.
Yep. Proverbs 22 and verse 3. It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hiding himself, but the simple pass on and are punished.
The simple pass on and are punished. And this is what's going to happen to all these people that had no idea or completely disregarded. We understand now, completely make mockery of the Lord's men in the way in which he reaches out his hand to you. Right? In Proverbs, the first chapter, it tells you that you basically slap my hand away. I believe around verse, right before it goes, it tells you about the simple. How long will the simple love simplicity and the scoffers delight? And they're scoffing, scorners delight. So this is what they're in right now. A scorner's delight, man. They get off to making bringing the bad accusations upon our name, saying that we're doing all of this preparation for no reason. Whereas the Lord is ready to guard those that he's aligning with his word ahead of the times. Let me get Habakkuk, 2nd chapter, and you can start at verse 3. Any precepts, Samat?
Come.
Go ahead.
This is Second Peter chapter 3.
Yeshaya, just go ahead and grab Yeshaya. Yep, go ahead and grab the Habakkuk. You ain't got to grab Samat just gonna read it. Go ahead, out.
This is Second Peter chapter 3, starting at verse 3. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lust.
That's right. So that's the first thing. All right, that's the first thing. All right, so we're gonna acknowledge that. All right, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, the day of the Lord ain't coming back lest the scoffers come first. Okay, and what exactly is a scoffer? It's somebody who's going to speak against, is somebody who's going to mock. All right, when you actually go into that word, it says false teacher. All right, so it's definitely getting on these other camps. The buildup of random camps and random doctrines, all right, unwhole doctrines, unsound doctrines, right, is gonna show you that what time we're in. It's gonna show you that these last days are here. Go on.
Verse 4, and saying, where is the promise of his coming?
If I may, the verse above, it says walking after their own lusts. All right, and you look up that word lusts. It's desire. It's a longing, especially for what is forbidden. You know, it's forbidden for us to get comfortable here. It's the comfortability level that destroys a good preparation. Just like bad communication corrupts good manners. So in order to really prepare, you have to take those days in which everybody else wants to lay up, everyone else wants to be comfortable, everybody is craving and longing and desiring adultery or desiring some type of other weird app that allows them to live out their desires, right? Some type of secret app. Okay, whereas we renounce all that for the preparation that it takes in order for this to be preserved in the end. So we're focused. Go on with verse 4.
Come, 2 Peter 3 and 4, is saying, where's the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation.
Yeah, those fathers, you're going back to your ancestors' line. All right, who are our nation, the founders of our nation. You have your your Abraham, Isaac. You have even the elders who came in before us. You had Elder Abba Bivens. You had High Priest Yaquab, Elder Yaquab, King Masha. These are elders as well. They fell asleep, meaning they went back into the spiritual world. Okay, that's what death is likened unto, asleep. But they says all things continue as they were from the beginning. So here it is. They desire that the promises just aren't going to come to pass. They're really trying to prove Yahweh Hashem Yahushua wrong, and that's where they really go off. So is it a personal attack on us? More than that, right? Really and truly is an attack on Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. He's the power that promised of his coming. Let's talk about the day of the Lord. So this is what they're trying to push back on. This is what the scriptures liken it to this time we're living in as. Okay, when you go into Thessalonians and you're dealing with we are not ignorant of the times. The times that I write unto you. You got that? Go ahead.
This is First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night.
The day of the Lord is going to come like a thief in the night, which means unpredictable. All right. You're not going to be able to prepare because it just came back abruptly. Whereas those that actually prepare now, we're likened unto 5 wise virgins, as opposed to the foolish ones who took not enough oil in their lamps. So this is why we make the emphasis of what we do. It's not dancing. It's not rapping. The emphasis is on doctrine in Great Millstone. The emphasis even more, the Apostle Dahar did a lesson today. I don't know if your brothers are able to catch it, in which ChatGPT says, it was either today or yesterday. ChatGPT says GMS is a camp that emphasizes prophecy, puts an emphasis on prophecy. Why? Because the times is rooted in prophecy. All right. When you do a diligent search and study on those times, what makes a time? It's a designated event that comes out of that time. Okay. It's measured by what situation happens at that time. You go into the definition again of season, kairos. It says to what time brings, the state of the times, the things and events of the time. So we understand that just because you're living in the end times and there's still music going on, there's new albums dropping, new colorways for Jordans, right? That's not going to stop as long as there's Babylonian Americans around. As long as niggas will put fringes on t-shirts, there's going to be Jordans and colorways. But what season? What is the event that designates this time? What is this looking back on in history, on the in the future, looking back on this time? You're gonna know that this was a time of Yahushua in his return, his arrival, symbolically called the day of the Lord, because it's just one day in which all of this Esau's world and this reality is gonna come to naught and disappear and be destroyed. All right. So we didn't have need to write unto us. We understand this information. The Lord cometh as a thief in the night. That's the information. And we knew it. To know something perfectly is to know it accurately. And how do you know what things accurately? By using diligence to make your carnal election sure. Also applying yourself in these scriptures, right? The studying, there's a wariness to the flesh and the mind when you study, right? But it is up the matter of kings to search out a matter, right? Go ahead, Yeshai. That's it on that. Samat.
This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 3. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie.
Let's stop right there. Let's stop for a second. This is a vision. All right. What is a vision? You go into that word, and Babak Shah, grab me the Samat, grab me appointed. He's in Habakkuk 2 and 3. Grab me appointed in the interlinear, in the Hebrew and the Strong. What we got here is a vision. A vision simply is a prophecy. All right. It'll say divine communication, but it's for an appointed time. So now we understand that when you make an appointment, all right, you're used to you scheduling that appointment. And if you don't like that time, then you could reschedule an appointment. So you got accustomed to something that only consists in a world like America, where the comfortability level is at an all-time high. You're at a max comfort level, whether you know it or not. Ancient worlds ain't seen this amount of comfort. You got an AC, right? You have socks and shoes. You have an automobile parked in your driveway. Okay. You have street lights, electricity. You can make a phone call to, and somebody in a EMT, you know, you can have an accident in a ambulance show up in less than 30 minutes. This is the max amount of comfortability, extreme levels of comfortability here in Babylon. And what happens is you think that everything runs on your time now. But since the beginning of time, there's been prophecies that designate the times. Okay. And what you're going to realize is it ain't about you haven't scheduled what's about to happen. Yeah, how about Shem Yahushua scheduled it? Do you have that appointed?
For that word or phrase, appointed time, it says Strong's H4150. In the outline of biblical usage, it says appointed place, appointed time, meeting. It says, I'm gonna get in the Strong's, it says appointed sign, time, place of assembly, congregation, appointed due season, set time.
Right. Salaki, what was that last part?
Set time.
Set season. Well, we just read 1 Thessalonians 5, where it talks about the Greek kairos, and that means a proper time for the word season. And it said, what brings time? What state of the state of the times, and the times and events of the time. What events? Again, we go into appointed times. What events are being appointed? You just don't make an appointment for nothing, and then you show up, and then the doctor looking at you, what's going, what's up? How can I help you? No, that appointment is for a specific thing. You need a filling for your cavity. That's what they're planning on doing. They're not going to get you massage. They're going to do exactly what was appointed for that time. What event is appointed for the time we in? And that's where this wisdom and knowledge will be a stability, because you know what's supposed to happen. And even Yahushua speaks to us in comforting words and says, when all these things come to pass, fear not, for this is the beginning of sorrows. Fret not. So our job is to know that the day of the Lord perfectly, right? That the day of the Lord so come as a thief in the night is for an time. It'll pretty much designate what this lifetime is for. You don't, outside of what this appointed seasonal time that we're living in is set up for, outside of that, everything else is a distraction on various levels. Everything else, from graduations to parties, right, to money, to music, all right, to hanging out, it's all various forms of distractions. Let me get in somebody bring out, where's that as in the days of Noah. But go read on Salaki, read on Yeshaya.
Going back to Habakkuk 2 and 3, if I may, start at the top. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie.
What is it? Why? Yeah, hold on. Why and at the end of something? Scripture say the end of a thing is better than the beginning of, because at the end is when that appointment happens. You make the appointment early, but it might be 2 weeks until it comes to pass. So from the time you made the appointment up until the end, nothing happened really. And what else is the end? Esau's end. Jacob is the beginning, or Esau is the end of the world, which is age, eon, uninterrupted period of rule, kingdom. And Jacob is a beginning of it that follow it. So we're looking for an end. The Lord Yahweh, is the scriptures say, I have given you an expected end. So the end of this man's time to rule, we're dealing with ages now. it shall speak. What's the speak? The scriptures, this word, these Salaki, these prophecies, they'll start to talk, meaning they'll come to pass and not lie. So again, these men, where the promise of God coming, it won't lie, but it's going to come at the end. In the scriptures, we know this is the end times, right? Isn't it written unto us? The time is short, right? And to be circumspect and the redeeming the time. All right, so we know it's the time. It's just the average peon, you know, the average person out here that doesn't acknowledge time or appointed times or prophecy for that matter. The despise not prophesying is what the script, Paul said. Okay, what we got? That was it on that, correct? Samak, you got anything?
You called for that Matthew 24:37 is in the days of Noah.
Yeah, Babaka Shah.
Khan, this is Matthew chapter 24, starting at verse 37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
So there it is. You weren't able to adapt to the quick change of the flood. When you think about a flood, it's abrupt. People don't escape floods. The water rushes in. Water has thousands of pounds of pressure. The bottom of the sea, all right, the surface or of the sea is uninhabitable by a majority of animals because of the amount of pressure there. You know, certain animals can't even dive that low. Even the divers will tell you the deeper you dive down and the harder it is to breathe because the pressure starts to push in on your lungs. And so this is the situation of the direness of a flood. Now, the impact of Yahweh Shah's return and these disasters that's about to happen is likened unto the flood, as in the days of Noah. Well, the days of Noah, the Lord took out all except 8 souls by way of the flood. And where the brother was reading the 2 Peter's, where it talks about the ways the promise of God come, and it'll go on to say, can you finish that out in 2 Peter's? Just finish that part out. Yeah, Babak Shah.
Khan. Back in 2 Peter chapter 3, I'll read it verse 4 again, and saying, where's the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continued as they were from the beginning of the creation. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of the Most High the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished.
It overflowed with water and it perished. So it overflowed with water. It was wiped out by that. Overflowed. All right. Looked it up. It said overwhelmed with water. You can't escape that overflow. You perish in it. You die in it. That is your end. Right? We looked that word up. Perish. Babak Shah. Whoever got it, Babak Shah, look that word up. Because this is what this time in this kingdom is going to be likened unto. This time. This is why the spiritual preparation was spiritual doomsday preppers for a reason. We got this time now, not to be in folly, man. That's what the people who are comfortable do. You actually have to get out, consistently behave in a way that constricts you from being comfortable. Remember, the comfortability now is entered into. It is entered into our the so-called black culture. Comfortability is entered into, the so-called holidays. Comfortability has entered into it's a 24/7 loop of distraction and comfort here in Babylon. Bread in circuses. That's the term designated for those of the Roman Empire during the times of great turmoils. What they would do is send in clowns meaning distract the hell out these people, and they would also bring about bread and circuses, feed them to the point of them being lazy, right? Because that's what happens when you eat too much. You get slothful. You don't want to get up and work, and have them with circuses to entertain the hell out of them. Gladiators, events, right? So this is where, this is what happens in any society that's really seeing austerity measures. It's about to go down. You got that word for perish?
Come. Simple Google definition for the word perish: suffer death, typically in a violent, sudden, or untimely way.
Suffer death, typically in a violent setting or an untimely way. You will get, you will get destroyed. Bring it out in the Strongs. It's G622. Yep, that's right. So this is why the Yahweh Shem Yahushua set up men. And if you look, starting with our apostles, Apostle of Heart exhibits, perfectly what it's like for somebody not to be entertained in folly, and start with the leadership, start with the heads. If you're looking for where that preparation is happening, where that resilience, right, is happening, that toughness is going on, what camp would you say? Is all about pushing forth this word, feeding the sheep, not demonstrations, not different things that catch the eye. We're not trying to trick or manipulate. Instead, it's just straight word coming out, the truth coming out. Because you're not going to get prepared by your marches. You're not going to get prepared that way. All right. The mind, you can, all kinds of people. Yeah, Edomites can march and do all these things, but very few can deal with the hardships of Yahweh Shem Yahushua word, man. Go ahead.
For that word perish in the Strong's G622, to destroy, to put out of the way entirely, abolish, put an end to, ruin, render useless, to kill, to declare that one must be put to death.
There you go. To declare that one must be put to death, to kill, render useless. This is the perishing of the comfortable people of Babylon, including you, 2/3 of you Israelites out here. So let's go back to what Samaku, Yeshaya, what you had.
I'm still on Habakkuk 2 and 3.
Yes, let's finish out with that one.
Going back to Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3, it says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. That will tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry."
There you go. Now get Ecclesiastes 3 and 1. Everything is about a time, man. And the fact that we've been given a heads up about what's going to happen doesn't mean that we could start to push off that time, as some do. Try to delay the time. No, it says, though it tarry, wait for it. So you got to be up and ready and waiting, as that good servant who, if he knew that, the thief would come, he would have been up and able to prevent the thief and stop them. Somebody breaks into your home because you were asleep. You weren't up. So this time is considered the night. Right? There's a crying for wine. Or at noon the cry was made, and so there's a loud crying in the streets of this word going out, the Lord's plans being declared. But it's all about his timing. So simply, what's the main thing you're gonna need? What's the main resources you will need at this time if you're really preparing? Any brother, you can answer that question. What's the number 1, 2, and 3 resource you're gonna need in this time?
Wisdom.
That's right. Anything else come to mind?
Faith.
Yup, that's right. There's one more in particular where you talk about waiting for something.
Patience.
Endurance.
There you go.
Endurance. Oh, it's a lot.
Patience and endurance. Yeah, both of them. So we're gonna get into this is the real preparation that you need. This is what you can't overlook. When the Lord said it will surely come, it won't tarry, even though it's a time, NLT, I believe it said if it seems slow, wait for it. You're gonna need patience. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick. You gotta mentally prepare to even be upset at the time that it takes and have to fight through that. You upset that the Lord, is waking up the rest of his elect or using his advantage of being in power to bring about things on his time that he set up a time already and he's going by it. The only thing we have to do, keep doing, is keep preparing for this evil. We know what's happening. Go ahead, Yeshaya.
Yeah, this going to Ecclesiastes 3:1. And if I may, reading the title, it says the time for everything. It says to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, and a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing.
Hold
a time
on.
to get,
if I may,
and a
refrain
time
from embracing. Refrain from embracing. That's heavy because, again, we are conditioned since babes in Babylon to be Americans. And an American wants to utilize every bit of comfort that's possible. You thought that that's the way of life. That was the key to life. What they didn't tell you is that the snake bite is coming. And in order to keep in that way in which you're going to be divulged in your comfort, you got to take the snake bite and the snake venom. So who's really going to be caught off guard when the flood comes? In order to continue in your American life, in your quality of life, in your parties, and your eating and drinking, right? Your ability to have sex and go out and party. In order to keep entertaining that lifestyle, you gotta have to take the snake bite, man. So to pull away from others is actually a season for that. To refrain from all of that foolishness and folly, this is the season for that. And it happens ahead. It happens early. The prudent foreseeth the evil. It doesn't matter how far off you see it. You just got to see it far enough to get out the way and hide yourself. Because eventually it becomes too hot, too close. You can't hide anymore. Go on.
Yep, till in Ecclesiastes 3:6, it says a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away.
Keeping this word is everything right now. This is going to help you. This is your spiritual guidebook, your map book. This is to help you with the maze. The maze, the Lord said, I be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. This is where you get optimism from. Because when all hell breaks out, and let's say the things hit the fan and the worst possible case scenarios come to pass, people are not going to be able to have a happy thought or a optimistic viewpoint or keep an optimistic mentality, a positive outlook on life. That's all going to be done away with by by the first cousin or nephew they have that gets gunned down by troops. You know, various stages of World War III, consisting of armed militia groups, and you know, foreign entities, foreign nationals, invasions, various stages of planned and what you call them, false flags operations by your own government, setting up their 15-minute cities and establishing their new world orders. There will be an increased time of panic, nations fighting, wars, rumors of wars, people, neighbors going into each other's homes, love of many waxing cold. Who's preparing for this? How do you prepare too late? No such thing. Once there's a cutoff time for preparation, right? If you don't have your seatbelt on, by the time of that crash, you're going through the windshield. You got it, brother.
Continuing in verse 7. A time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. It says, what profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? I have seen the travail which Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah have given to the sons of men to be exercised in it.
That's it on that. That's it on that. Let me get that. Where's that? Ephesians. Talk about the breastplate of hope and helmet of salvation. We're in the time of prep. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
That's a lot. Now you got it. Go ahead.
Yep. No, I didn't know you had it that fast. The spirit. Go ahead.
This book of Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10. And as you can see, the title of it says the armor of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Salaki, if I may, Elder, can I
go ahead?
Can I touch on that word wiles?
Yeah.
Yep, just dealing with that word wiles. It really goes into basically the trickery of this devil. Let me see. Let me grab it real quick. Yep, here it is. Yep. When you go into that word wiles, you know, Strong's G3180, and it goes into cunning arts, deceit, craft, trickery. All right. And if I may, you know, especially in the heavy times we're going into, you know, a lot of people are going to be tricked up by the way of that MOTB, man. All right. All because of what? They didn't put on the armor of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. Ultimately, they didn't prepare themselves. Okay. Or even going back to the title, they didn't gather the things, basically that survival kit, man. You know, to keep them from the said perils is about to be brought upon the planet Earth, which we know everything that's going to be brought upon the planet Earth is going to be basically done by the orchestra. It's going to be orchestrated by the way of this devil, man. All right. The Lord is going to use this guy on the left-hand side to bring forth the famine. Okay. The different teeth of wild beasts, the robo dogs, you know, the pestilence. You know, he's in the lab now making a new pestilence. Okay, but when you put on the armor of the Most High, you're kept from these different wiles of the devil, man, that made known unto you. So therefore, you've been built up by the way of the scriptures. You know, you're gathering that what's that, Isaiah 33:6, that wisdom. Okay, where it says wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and that's what we're doing here in these times, man. But Salakia, going back to that Ephesians.
Hey, read that verse 11 again. Good point too. Read that verse 11.
Yep. Going back to Ephesians 6 and verse 11, and it says, put on the whole armor of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah.
All right, stop right there real quick. Samat, pull up the Greek for the word, whoever has it, the Greek for the word whole armor. This is Ephesians 6 and 11, whole armor. I want the Strongs for that word, the interlinear.
Okay.
Right? Because it says whole armor. You know, you got, you know, certain men who believe in helmets, you know, and then you got a different guy who might believe in a breastplate. You know, he got a bulletproof vest on. Another guy, you know, he believes in like armbands. He got the armbands going on. But the scripture say, put on the whole armor. You got that word?
For that phrase, whole armor. This is Strong's G3833. And in the outline of biblical usage, it says, full armor, complete armor, includes shield, sword, lance, helmet, greaves, and breastplate.
Whoa. So now it's a whole lot of things you got to get prepared with. Now you see, for instance, if I say, brothers, what's a good doomsday prep list? 5 items. You know, off the top of the head, what's some of those things you need? Doomsday prep. Worldly, carnal, doomsday preppers. What are they gonna have in their item, right? What's something that come off the top of the head? All right, water. Come.
It's a lot. You have. Not good. You have.
Yeah, water, as the brother said. You know, something to start a fire with. Canned goods. You know, unperishable foods. You know, toiletries.
Yeah, there's a good list. Might be a generator in there. Might be a you know, electronic wind up radio flashlight situation. You know, some type of thermal thing to keep you warm in the night. You know, some type of shovel in there to dig a, you know, trench with and something like that. So yeah, a pot maybe. So you got this, you know, you got a list that makes up the full, you know, it's a full list that makes up a good prep. If you got somebody to say, yo, I got a can of vegetables, but they ain't got no can opener, you know what I'm saying? Or they ain't got a knife. Well, you screwed. Now you banging it on rocks and things, man. So you understand the list, the whole list is what makes it workable. Because then you succumb to that one thing you don't have. Does that make sense? You'll have everything except for that, and that one thing you missing. So, you know, brother just read shield, sword, lance, helmet, greaves, breastplate. The guy that runs out there without a breastplate, he's screwed. Do you see the word that it got in quotations after full armor? It's a P word.
Panoply.
Yeah, look that up and get a wiki on that. Panoply. The Greek word is panoplia. So the English word panoply comes from the Greek word panoplia. Remember, these are all ancient world things, but you go around the Greek person and say panoplia, you know, they're not gonna know exactly what you're talking about. Go to Wikipedia, see what it say on that. Panoply. What's a panoply or panoply?
Panoply, it says a complete or impressive collection of things.
Huh. Anything else?
Array, a range, a collection.
Okay. Anything like let's see if you can get the interlinear.
One more, if I may, in the Merriam-Webster, it says a full suit of armor.
See if you got the etymon on that. Go down on the bottom of Merriam. See if they give you the etymon. So basically, it's just the whole thing. It's the whole thing together, which makes you armed, fully armed. Right? You got this, you know, full metal jacket. You got to have full armament, whole armament. And armor, you know, that's everything we just named. Shields, things that stop those swords, things that stop those wiles of the devil. Now, if the wiles of the devil is tricks and schemes, is this actually talking about metal armor? Or is it talking about spiritual armor? How do you stop a destructive plot with a sword? You don't stop a sword with a sword. But what we gonna come to find out is, it got anything else on that panoplia or panoply?
Yeah, come if I may, going in that word panoply, the water. The etymon, it says, I'm gonna jump down. It says originally in English, figurative, a spiritual armor.
Hold up. It says that figuratively spiritual armor. That's heavy, because that's what we're talking about. What is the spiritual armor that we need right now? Because that's prep. Again, you can't run out to war without your lance. Not only that, you got to have your shield, you got to have your sword, you got to have your helmet, then you got to have the greaves. That's the part that you protect your shin with. And then it says your breastplate. You protect your chest, your breast with that. Shield, right? So spiritual. Read that part again.
Yep. It says originally in English figurative, a spiritual armor.
A spiritual armor. So Akim, this is what the ancient, you know what I'm saying? This is the scripture say things written for your learning. The things written from past. How's that go? Roughly paraphrasing. Things written for your learning.
The things written aforetime were written for our learning, that we,
That's
through
right.
the patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
Ooh, that's it. All right. And the brothers angelically quoted that scripture. That's right, brother. So here it is, man. You know, here it is. We got to have the whole thing, and we getting spiritual preparation, and we got the time to do it if we're not giving time over to distractions of Babylon. The many pleasures of Babylon, the eating and the drinking and the fancy. I fancy this and I fancy a stroll on, and you know, and too much sleep. Even sleep, man. You get caught up in sleep. What you doing? I'm taking another nap. You know, too much of anything for you is bad for you. The scripture said, let your moderation be seen by all men. How do you live moderately? By a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit this, a little bit that. You're not in places where you're not supposed to be. You're not occupied in things that don't need you. If you're a part of your elect ain't gonna be bothered by the things that the 2/3 is gonna be bothered with, because you're too busy prepping. What we got? Where we left off at?
Well, we're still on verse 11.
Okay, we can finish that out and then go on.
Yep, going back to Ephesians 6 and verse 11, it says, put on the whole armor of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. It says, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua.
So now you see what's the strategies and that we come to find through the scriptures that the Lord left for us. These resources, these mental resources to fighting problems of end times problems, scenarios, darkness, princes of darkness, and destructive entities out here to attack you, and the wiles of Satan. Every strategy and deceptive trick that Esau has to deceive you. of you know, bracing yourself for the Third World War, and you know, for not taking a mark, and you know, being kept in the promises of Yahweh Shem Shai, and you know, believing on him, staying faithful. All of these tactics and tricks to keep you from being faithful and keep you from being reminded that you're an Israelite. A lot of them is too late, but he's still using different strategies. As you can see, it works on the majority of our people. They have absence of that skill, that salve. The Lord Yahweh Shai still has their doors closed and not be able to have access to the more informative things of what's more important right now to focus on. They're not able to navigate through these dark times. All right, there's no candle to light their path and their way. There's no scripture to comfort them for the, you know, for the destruction that happened. So not only do we know about the destruction and are inclined to begin to prepare for it, but we're also comforted in that preparation. We comforted, man. The fact that you know you have an escape route. If I go through the home and I tell everybody, hey, look, in the case of a fire, I need everybody to meet in the hallway and run to this. We're gonna go out this door. That's the escape plan. It's a simple one, basic one, but nonetheless, it brings about. It's a strategy that bring about a mindfulness, a peace of mind, so that in the moment of attack, you don't have to panic because you already got a laid out scenario of how this thing gonna work. That's what prepping is all about, right? When the soldier preps with his guns, they teach him how to load and unload the rifle over and over and over again to ad nauseum. And then they even shoot live rounds over his head while he's doing it. So by the time he gets to war, that ain't nothing but a rehearsal to him. They're not dropping things. Come to find out, you could lose out because you're gonna panic. So this is how the Lord really allows, you know, the Akim to subside in that panic and the anxiety when all hell break loose. This is what we got this for. This is what time we're using. We're the soldiers with the live rounds going over our head, while everybody else is laid back, not even seeing an enemy. Because again, that's what you develop as an American: a hostility to change, normalcy bias. Nothing can ever change. We'll always be undefeated. We're the top military. We got the best guns. We got the best ammo. We got the best stockpiled soldiers. We got the best Navy, military. Who could strike us down? Who can move us? They're all proud. Pride goes before what? A fall, man. So, you know, we just going, there's any more scriptures out there?
I got some.
Go ahead.
Kind of just backing up, brother. Last one he just brought out, going into the shield of faith. This is Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 7. By faith, Noah, being warned of the Most High of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith.
Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of just going back to you know, what he said, what you brought out, Zaquan, you know, in Ephesians, putting on that whole armor, and one of the pieces of armor is the shield of faith, right? So faith is a protection. It's something that protects you from a blow, right? It says Noah being warned of the Most High things not seen as yet, and we're being warned through prophecy, you know, through the testimony of Lord Yahweh Shai, which is the spirit of prophecy. We're being told what's going to happen before it happened. Amos 3 and 7, you know, surely the Lord power does nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets, who in turn warn you. Forgetting why Apostle Ned here at Great Millstone, man, we're warning you of the things that are coming, but we're being warned ourselves, and that's why we're spiritually prepping, just as our forefather Noah. But it says he prepared an ark. That preparing, right? We're spiritually preparing. We're getting on this spiritual ark, right? Knowing that, you know, strange rains are coming. by the way of thermonuclear warfare. But before that, it's a time like none other called Jacob's trouble, where people are going to be starving to death. People are going to be, you know, unaliving each other at an alarming rate. It's going to be all out chaos. But the Lord is preparing his hopeful elect that we'll be able to withstand within these times. Just as you brought out, Zaquan, you know, we're hearing these things over and over. We're constantly bringing it out. That by when the time comes, it's going to be second nature. That training is going to kick in. And Lord willing, we're part of that number. Our spirits are going to be settled because we're spiritually preparing now. We're training, being built up for the times that are ahead. Just as our forefather Noah, and he prepared an ark to the saving of his household. You know, and we hope as well that we, as well as our loved ones, can be saved. But however the Lord see fit, we want to be on that spiritual ark. We want to be saved. That's why we're through the Spirit are preparing our minds spiritually, man, hoping to be, you know, of that precious elk that will be prepared enough to withstand this evil time that's ahead. It's like you got as a core.
If I may, if you consider Noah, the Lord was preparing Noah for a miracle, man. You know, rain coming down from the sky. Who ever seen such a thing, man? How much more us in these times, man? Babylon the Great. Who ever heard, like the oil mentioned, this the place with the greatest military. You know what I mean? The Golden City. Who can ever hear about this place, man, taken down? And you consider a miracle, it ain't nothing but the wondrous works of Yahweh Shema Shai, man. And seeing this place being destroyed, that's going to be part of the wondrous works of Yahweh Shema Shai, man. If I may, I do have a precept just to back that up. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 40. It says, "O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth." Now, when you go into that word pilgrim in the Edomite, it goes into one who's seeking a sign, man. And that's what the Lord is doing. He's getting us ready for that battle, man, because you got to be able to even be built up to see the miracles that the Lord is going to bring upon the planet earth just for you, man. You know, food appear out of nowhere upon that pot. You know what I mean? In the flesh, you ain't gonna be able to take that, especially not right now. But here it is. The Lord is getting you built up. What is it? Faith to faith. You see, the Lord is getting your mind prepared for these things, man. These wondrous works that He's about to bring upon the planet Earth, and that even includes the destruction of America, man. But yeah, that's it on that.
Beautifully spoken, Akim. You know, through the spirit and power, how about Shemel Shah. We just hope this video was edifying and this lesson was edifying. We want to give all glory, honor, and praises due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles, elders, and bishops, O great millstone, rule well over the flock of Israel. Shalom and Talab, La Ilah, Shalom.
Shalom.